to The Red Menace. We're a comedy news podcast bringing you the latest and greatest stories from the post-apocalyptic future. My name's Chris Bolson.
And I'm Alison Hoare.
So, what's big at the box office this week? It's incredibly successful and not at all a failure. New movie.
The Emoji Movie 2.
Close, but no cigar. It's Terminator Dark Fate. A movie starring all of our favourite characters from the previous Terminator movies. Arnold.
Now, you would probably not be shocked to hear that I haven't watched a single Terminator film.
What do you believe it is about?
Well, if I can, paste together what I know from, various Simpsons episodes where they parodied it and various other parodies of it, I know Arnold Schwarzenegger is a robot guy, perhaps the titular Terminator.
You're on the money so far.
Yeah, okay, sure. And he says, "I'll be back," in his voice at some point in one of the films.
This is going to shock you.
He probably shoots a lot of things with a gun. He probably terminates a lot of things.
Here's a cool thing about this film is that he says "I'll be back" several times, as though the filmmakers kind of expected me to cheer in those moments instead of cringe, as I
it was like
in fact
one of those
did.
things for people like me who have no idea what the movie is except for that line. So we're like, oh, well, I got exactly what I expected in this film.
And they only shot one dude, but that one dude took a lot of shots. So,
Well, that's all right then.
So, the premise of Terminator Dark Fate is that there is... So, in Terminator 2, the concept of that flick is that there's a small boy named John, played by a young Edward Furlong, and Arnold gets sent back from the future into the past to stop another robot from killing him, which he does. And then in the first 2 minutes of Terminator Dark Fate, that small boy, who is now played by a CGI Edward Furlong because he's grown into an alcoholic.
I'm sorry, why the child... Okay, so the child is played by a CGI person now.
Yeah, don't worry, he instantly dies. So we're not going to...
Well, that's one way to deal with it, isn't it? It's like...
They fixed that problem right out of the gate.
It's going to be quite expensive to have a CGI kid the whole movie. Oh, don't worry, he dies the first time he's on screen.
He dies immediately. This has upset some nerds. Which is...
that doesn't surprise me. But also, shocking. I didn't realise that there were still people who were people of this movie.
Then his mum, Sarah, to her friends, is very sad about this, understandably. And then she becomes a grizzled old badass woman who has guns and stuff.
Now, I know Sarah exists in the Terminator franchise because of Hunt for the Wilder People and the one scene where they're arguing over who gets to be Sarah and who's the Terminator. So that's another thing that I know exists in the Terminator universe.
So this film introduces two new characters. There's a young woman named Danny who works in a car factory. And she doesn't like automation, which is thematically appropriate because it's about robots.
Well, that's good, isn't it? That's she already is set up to hate the Terminator.
Yeah, and that's all the characterization she receives.
Well, of course.
So that's all I can...
You know what? The character is characterized immediately that she works as a mechanic. Oh my gosh, she's a woman mechanic, Chris. That's pretty good characterization.
That's pretty good. She's not a mechanic. We never actually find out what her job is specifically. We just find out that her brother's job has been replaced by a robot. She complains to the foreman. Then a Terminator tries to kill her and she runs away.
Well... we don't want to see women doing the mechanics. That might be a little off-putting, but the implication that she is a mechanic is the characterization.
The final character who's introduced in this flick, and the one I'm most excited about, because she's played by one of my favourite actors or actresses, a young woman by the name of Mackenzie Davis.
What would I know Mackenzie Davis from?
Not a lot. Have you watched *Halt and Catch Fire*?
No, I haven't.
All right, well, anyone who's watched *Halt and Catch Fire*, the tall blonde girl in that...
I am going to Google this and find out.
Okay.
Mackenzie Davis. Keep talking.
So she plays someone who's sent back from the future. She's got robot insides, but a human outside.
Oh, jeez.
And she has what me and the person that I saw it with both described as extremely gay, extremely hot energy.
Okay, well, that's a good thing.
Because she has, like, top energy, if you know what I mean. Like, she's just very assertive, very short hair, very good at punching and flips. And just extremely cool, and by far the standout of the movie. Not that she has any characterization or depth. Mackenzie Davis is just an incredibly charismatic human being.
Oh, she's in The Martian.
She is in that movie
I have seen that movie.
She is in it for about 2 minutes.
Okay, well, I probably wouldn't recognise her from that if she's in it for 2 minutes.
I'm sorry.
I have not seen literally anything else she's in, so...
So what's cool about this movie is that me and the person I was with, and then there were 2 other people in the cinema. And
okay,
that was
so it was quite a smash hit, is what you're saying here.
That was all of them. So I think that I'm willing to make a bet. Not a single person who listens to this episode of this podcast has also seen Terminator Dark Fate.
Fairly safe bet.
So I could say whatever the fuck I want about this movie.
I didn't even know they were still making Terminator films.
I have a hunch after this one they won't.
It's just, it didn't land quite as well as they wanted it to.
I'll say a plot point that you'll think is made up, but is something that really happens in the movie, is where they have to...
Spoiler alert, if you want to see this movie.
You don't.
Continue.
They have to cross the border from Mexico into the US because they have to go and find something that I don't remember, and who cares.
Sure.
So they get arrested by the Border Patrol, and then they get taken to a processing facility and locked in a big cage, and it gets very political, but without actually saying anything political, other than...
It's like it's trying to do it, but it's not like going to go as far as say this is bad. It's just showing you that this is a process that Arnold Schwarzenegger has had to go through in this film. It could be good or it could be bad. It's up to you.
Yeah, it's not like this is bad so much as it's like this is.
This is a thing.
This just is.
Yeah.
But I will say, you do get to watch the evil Terminator kill a lot of US immigration officers.
Ooh,
and
I don't know what message it's sending there. Because if that's the evil Terminator is killing the people, are we supposed to be...
True. It's confusing, because depending on your political alignment, that's either going to be upsetting or, in my case, incredibly cathartic. And that was
it
by
might
far
be cathartic, but then you realise that that's the bad guy doing that.
It is the bad guy Terminator, but the bad guy Terminator is pretty cool. So, like...
Okay, so he's pretty... People would buy toys of the bad guy Terminator.
Yeah, like...
They'd have the action figurine of the bad guy Terminator.
The only person that he kills that, like, is good or tries to kill is the protagonist. And outside of that, he seems fine. So, like...
Okay.
Like, one protagonist for, like, 20 US customs officials, like, you know, it's like... It's a trade. I'm getting increasingly more radicalized because we named this podcast The Red Menace, so I'm sorry.
Well, that's basically, that's something that we have to live with, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like osmosis from the title. I keep publishing it.
Well, it just kind of, we've got to, like, keep on to the dregs of the people who were looking for for Red Menace podcast. We've got to, like, keep on to those dregs of people with a little bit of radical theory here and there. Just dripping it in for you. I
shaved my beard off for the Movember, but left the moustache. And I've been told by several people that I look like a cop. So
that's not a good... I hope you don't wear your aviator sunglasses at this period of time.
So what I'm trying to do is grow it out so I look more like my hero, Joseph Stalin. Do you have a story to start us off?
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of different stories. Let's start with this one. This was sent to me by my friend Jossie, who I believe you've met.
I have. She's a lovely young woman.
Yeah, I hope most of my friends are lovely. I don't know why they'd be friends with me, but anyway. I'm reading from stuff.co.nz. I'm digging right into your source here.
Oh, wow.
Well, actually, Jossie is. But look, I can't not tell this story, because it involves... two of my favourite elements, accidents and chickens, which I think are two very good elements to make the perfect narrative.
It was a poultry accident. A poultry mistake.
All right,
I'm sorry, this is nothing. Please continue.
I'm going to read the headline. $1.50 for 1,000 hens. Hamilton man desperate to rehome birds after accidentally winning auction. Essentially, the headline tells you the whole story of what happened here.
What that is, basically, is you know how you go to, like, a hipster cafe and it's like a deconstructed coffee? This is a deconstructed meat platter. Where
Yeah, exactly.
They'll give you the ingredients, but you have to do the work to turn it into the food.
You accidentally bought 1,000 chickens, though. So you're making a lot of food for a lot of people.
Or you're making a lot of burritos for yourself.
Well, sure. I guess the chicken meat doesn't go bad if the chicken is still alive.
Exactly.
Right?
The chicken. So you just need to figure out what the lifespan of a chicken is, and then figure out if you can eat 1,000 of them in that time frame.
Yeah. Well, actually, because I had this dilemma, not the 1,000 chickens, but I had a dilemma in that on Sunday I bought chicken meat, expecting to cook that food and eat that night, but then someone else in my house had prepared a whole feast, and they're like, here you go, Alison, share some food with us. So I shared some food with them, so I didn't eat the chicken that night. And then I cooked the chicken on Monday, a little portion of it. And then yesterday I went out for dinner, and I don't know if I can still eat the chicken meat tonight.
That is like
on a Wednesday night if I bought it on Sunday.
That's 4 days of chicken degradation, Alison.
Yeah, that's 4 days of chicken degradation. I don't know if it's still safe to eat.
That's Sunday chicken. I don't know if that's good for...
Give me your perspective, people, on whether I can still eat this chicken. What I'm trying to say...
Yeah, everyone, give Alison your perspective in 4 days when this podcast comes out.
I'll hold the chicken until then, and then you can let me know whether it's safe to eat.
By then it'll be infested, but that's like... can you guys please say that yes, it's safe to eat, because I want Alison to be punished for her hubris.
But... what I mean to say is that if the chicken was alive, I wouldn't be having that issue.
So really, I think you fucked up by buying dead chicken.
I've certainly fucked up.
What you should have done is gone down to the literal farmer's market and bought a chicken.
Here's the thing about where I live in Jakarta. There are a lot of chickens just roaming the streets.
Oh, sweet.
So
you don't even need to pay for it.
I don't even need to go to the farmer's market. I just go, hey, is this your chicken? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, can I have it? And they'll be like... okay.
And even if they say no, just fucking take it.
Just grab it. Like, no one's going to stop me.
What are they going to do? They're not your dad.
Call the police. You know? What are you going to do?
So then, problem is, Alison, when you get the chicken back to your place, you've got to...
The chicken's going to poop everywhere. That's going to be the issue.
That wasn't what I was thinking, but also, yes, that is an issue. At some point...
that's the first issue that I'm going to face, is the chicken's pooping everywhere.
Poop. So how long are you planning on keeping this alive chicken in your house?
Well, just until I want to eat some nachos or something, you know? Until I want to...
You're going to have to be careful that you don't develop an emotional bond with this chicken.
Well, that's going to be impossible because chickens are inherently cute, which is my dilemma as someone who's not a vegetarian or vegan, is that all the animals we eat are kind of cute. So let's read about these 1,000 chickens, because fortunately they do not end up as food.
If chickens one day decided that they wanted to take back the world from humanity, I'd be
I would accept that. Yeah, I'd be I'll fight for you. I will fight on your side of the war.
I think no other species has been as fucking decimated by humanity as chickens have. Not only do we eat them, we eat their eggs. It's just... and on such...
We're going to eat your menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
And you.
On such an overwhelming scale, if they were like, we want to eat you, I'd be like, fucking do it, honestly. It's like, I'm yours.
Just
free,
dig in.
I'm a free-range human, and I want to do my penance to the chicken people.
The chickens deserve it at that point, to be able to nibble on a few human meats,
They've earned it, honestly.
Exactly. But... anyway, these 1,000 chickens,
yes.
I'm going to jump into what happened here, because it's quite a fun story. I like this story.
Okay.
Let's jump in. It says, a man is desperate to rehome 1,000 hens after he accidentally bought them in an online auction for $1.50. That's $1.50 for all of the chickens, by the way.
Okay, because I was going to say...
not $1.50 each.
That's still quite good value for 1,000 chickens, but I don't have that money to throw around on chickens, you know?
No, but $1.50? Yeah, I'll buy 1,000 chickens for $1.50. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but that's good value. You can't turn down a bargain, you know?
My worry is that I don't think my apartment would have enough floor space for 1,000 chickens, so I would kind of end up with you wouldn't measure the chickens purely in, two dimensions. There'd be a depth element.
No, you'd be looking
to
at
them.
you'd just be piling them up.
It would be an ocean of chickens.
Yeah, that's probably how my apartment would look if I had 1,000 chickens in there as well.
I'd kind of just be swimming through chickens.
And look, maybe some people say it's animal cruelty that the chickens are stored like that, but you two are also stored like that. You're also amongst the chickens in that situation.
Imagine when it's time to go to bed, you have to kind of just like get like a big sheet of like wood or something and just kind of push as many as you can out the door, and they just like pile up and you try and close the door around them, and it's just like create a dam for the chickens because they slosh over. The problem is, again, if the chickens decide to enact squatters' rights, then I've got to fight 1,000 chickens.
Yeah, and you're not going to win that. You've just got to give them the house at that point.
I think I can win a fight with one chicken, but 1,000 is a stretch. At the same time, though, by being stacked on top of each other, like, I think they'll be largely immobilized. So,
well,
like, just give me a big stick, and I think if you just give me a big,
you need to have like a
If I have just like a big stick, I can just clear fucking swaths through those things.
If you throw some corn in one of the corners, all of the chickens will
try
to go there.
Throw corn, throw Molotov cocktail, problem solved. Because they're not smart animals.
I'll tell you what, before I finish the story...
that way you'll get dinner out of it, so like it's a win-win.
I was in the bird park zoo in Kuala Lumpur, and it was very nice, but the majority of the birds were from Australia, which as an Australian person, I'm kind of like, okay, I can see these birds for free in the street in Australia.
You can go to a garbage bin and see these birds.
You can see these birds for free in the garbage bin, exactly. But one of the animals that was roaming around were a lot of chickens. And there were also a lot of peacocks roaming around. And I just it hit me at that point that a peacock is essentially the same thing as a chicken in most ways.
It's just like a hot chicken.
Yeah, it's just like a sexy, sexy chicken.
A sensual, colourful chicken.
Yeah, and I'm like, look, because they were walking in the same way with the little head bobble, like had the same mannerisms. I'm like, imagine like being born a chicken when you could be born a peacock and be exactly the same, except people don't want to eat you because you've got nice feathers.
Can I counterpoint by that and say, imagine being born a chicken, but then you get born a turkey instead.
Oh,
and
no.
Basically, at that point, you thought maybe for a minute you were a peacock, but then you weren't colourful, and also people still want to eat you, and also you have a nutsack for a chin.
And
so,
also you're a nightmare creature that is horrifying.
Also, I hate you. So, like...
Unless you're a bush turkey. The bush turkeys are good.
That's fair.
They're nice. They're just like peck around and they don't have ballsack chins so much. Anyway, I got into like the first paragraph of this story. Steve Morrow from Hamilton said he saw the urgent sale on Trade Me and thought he was bidding for only one bird. But when he won the auction at 11 a.m. on Sunday, he was told by the seller, Matthew Blomfield, that he in fact bought 1,000 of them. The ad read that a small free-range egg farm in Massey, West Auckland was closing down and needed to be vacated by Monday. As a matter of urgency, we need to move approximately 1,000 hens, it read. The sale was for 1,000 birds, which is a little bit confusing wording. Anyway, a mixed-aged flock of brown shavers and highlines. I guess that's a type of chicken.
Some chickens.
Yeah, a mixed flock of chickens. Morrow said that he thought the highest bidder could take as many birds as they wanted, and the seller would continue to auction the rest of them off until they were all gone. That's a very, presumptuous thing.
That is, you should ask
it
before...
It does say 1,000 chickens, and you interpreted that as, I guess I could just take as many as I want, and then he'll sell the rest.
Well, what's interesting about this to me is that this means he actually only needs to rehome 999 chickens.
Well, he's still going to... Yeah, exactly.
Because he wants
true.
one of them, presumably. I don't know what dark deeds he wants that chicken for, what spells and incantations he will be performing with it.
But he wants one. He wants a chicken.
I think he's misused... he's not looking at the bright side of this, because his magic is going to be so much more potent with 1,000 chickens. How
it's
many...
a lot of chickens.
You can fill that cauldron right up with the chicken's blood. You can get a lot of shit done.
Alternatively, you could start your own zoo and just dress all of the chickens up as every animal and then charge people to come in.
Just put a periscope on one of them and be like, it's a giraffe.
Yeah, exactly.
Put some teeth on one and
well, I was thinking for the giraffe you could just tape like a toilet roll, like one of the ones for the like paper towels. You could just tape that to its neck, and that would be like, oh, I'm a giraffe.
So rhino, you just like stick a spike on its face, easy.
I wouldn't want to go near the chicken with a spike on its face, though.
No, that one has to be kept in its own special cage.
Yeah, for sure.
A special pen, sorry. The lion one, I guess, just give it like wrap some like tinsel around its head.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's festive for Christmas as well.
Exactly.
And then when you change your zoo into a Santaland theme park at Christmas time, you won't have to do anything to the lion because it's already
You will
festive.
have to change all the other chickens to be in elf outfits, though, is the problem.
Or like little reindeer antlers.
Yeah, that's pretty good too.
So, anyway, the guy who sold the chickens, is a little bit shady with the comments. He says, Blomfield told staff that the ad was pretty clear. It mentioned 1,000 hens 3 times, once in the title and twice in the ad description. It's pretty bloody hard to get that wrong, Blomfield said. He said he had contacted Morrow and conversations with him following the sale indicated the new buyer was happy with his purchase. We discussed the logistics behind it all. He said he's worked at freehold farms, but over the weekend I think it became apparent to him that 1,000 hens is a bit too many birds.
It's a considerable number of chickens. It's just like, it's not...
So what Blomfield is suggesting here is that this guy did intend to buy 1,000 chickens all along, and then he realised how big 1,000 was, and that it's a large number.
He has buyer's chicken remorse. He has clucker's remorse.
Exactly.
I relate to that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it's like when you buy a TV and you're like, oh, this is actually, that number is higher than I thought it was. And you're like, well, unfortunately it's too late and Harvey Norman won't take it back. So...
Yeah. Well, I had a similar situation last night. I went to a restaurant with some friends, and it was the kind of restaurant where, like, in Indonesia, it's a quite common type of restaurant which has a series of plates of different foods, and then you ask for, like, what you want. And it's like a buffet, but you have to pay individually for each food. Yeah. And so I'm like, well, I'll get 3 dishes and some rice, and I think that should be plenty. And it was plenty. In fact, it was way too much. And, like, I'm like, 3 dishes is a lot of food. It's a lot of meals to eat.
That's like eating 1,000 chickens. It's like a lot of...
Yeah, well, exactly. So I get his feeling.
I will say this. That's a lot of protein. Like...
Well, yeah.
He could get pretty fucking buff off 1,000 chickens. Especially if he uses the other chickens as weights.
Well, that's true. But are chickens heavy?
If you stack enough of them up, they are.
Oh, well, sure. If you put enough of them together, yeah. Yeah, anything's heavy when you have enough of it, I think. But fortunately, the chickens are not going to be killed. So Morrow, the guy who bought the chickens, said he wasn't going to let the 100 birds down and let them be killed. I wasn't going to let that happen. I was going to save 1,000 lives, even if I had to drive up to Auckland and feed them for myself while looking for homes for them. Animal sanctuary owner Sean Bishop said Morrow was an amazing guy for trying to get the birds rehomed. They had interviewed hundreds of people who had shown interest, and more than 700 birds could already be going to their new homes, he said. Morrow said he would take 20 chickens himself.
Okay, that's That's something.
Yeah, well, that's a solid number, but it sounds like he's going to have like 300 chickens. But
it's 2%.
300 is better than 1,000.
Yeah, like, you got to start somewhere, you know?
Look, I'd rather have 300 chickens than 1,000 chickens, if I had to be honest.
What's fun is that he's having a bidding war with himself about how many chickens he can manage.
I will say $1.50 for 1,000 chickens is a pretty good price.
Oh, that's a fucking great deal. I'd do that.
It's a bargain.
I don't know what I'd do with 1,000 chickens, but I'd buy them.
But you can't say no to a deal.
No. Let me find a story.
No worries.
Saved stories. Okay. So this is something that is from Elle magazine, Beauty Now, Beauty Buzz.
Wow, Chris, what a great source.
Yeah. So this is not immediately like hilarious, but it's also the most like bullshit, makeup beauty shit. Snake oil.
I do love a bit of bullshit beauty stuff. Like, you got to believe how much of a deep rabbit hole I went down on with the whole Mel Gibson thing. That, for me, was my shit for like a whole week. Reading articles about that, and then other people similar to her, and then other people similar to the people similar to her. And it's grim.
It's fucking miserable.
If you don't know about Mel Gibson, then Google her and go down that rabbit hole for yourself. I won't spoil it.
It is fascinating. Okay.
It sure is.
All the Light We Cannot See, which is also the name of like a Pulitzer Prize winning book. So they're trying to get the SEO there, which is clever.
That's a smart idea.
You shun the sun and choose natural products over chemical, but a simple Netflix binge could actually be doing the most damage.
Okay.
What is blue light? Blue light refers to the high energy wavelengths.
This is very much like anti-4G, anti-vaccination, blue light.
Yes.
It's all in the same realm, isn't it?
Except instead of like it'll give your kids autism, it's like it'll give you wrinkles. Like that's the.
Oh well, yeah. Okay.
So the stakes are lower. Much of the blue light we're exposed to comes from the sun. However, it's also emitted by LEDs, such as those found in our phones, TVs, and laptops. According to recent research, Australians are spending more than 1/3 of their day in front of these devices.
Well, I would say probably a big bulk of that is people who have jobs.
Alison, I don't want to hear these bullshit excuses. If you had a real job, like being a makeup artist for Elle, like...
Well, the person who's probably tapping this out for Elle is probably spending more than 1/3 of their day on the computer.
I'll see. They're going to have experienced some wonderful products that Elle's going to be helping them out with.
They've had that. Okay, that's great.
So what does it do to my skin? Blue light isn't all bad. At the right wavelength, it can actually be harnessed to kill acne-causing bacteria.
Wow! Maybe that's why I don't have acne anymore, because I just became like a computer addict.
That tracks for me too. But
it could be that we're getting older, or it could be that we use the computer.
It could be that I watch too much TV, I think is what it is.
Yeah, well, that's probably it.
But while relatively harmless in small doses, the issue arises from the frequency and close range at which we're exposed to our screens. And given the fact that most of us scroll, tap and swipe until we sleep, it's safe to say we've moved beyond casual exposure. Jocelyn Petroni, the skin expert behind some of Australia's most famous complexions, warns that...
Sorry?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that means.
She created this... She sewed together the skin of these people?
She built it from the ground up.
Did she paint the skin of these people? Because
Alison,
that's getting into some blackface territory, which I don't want to enter.
She designed their flesh.
I don't know what they mean by that, but continue.
Yeah, I don't know what her job is.
If anything's clear from this, it's how very little I know about the beauty world.
This is fair. She warns that blue light can infiltrate the skin. I like that language. Infiltrate the skin even further than the UVA and UVB rays we've been so smugly averting. Blue light can penetrate right into the skin's dermis, causing oxidative stress.
I don't like these words that they're using.
Causing oxidative distress in the skin and premature aging, she says. It can also generate free radicals.
Free radicals!
This is my... Not going to lie, this specific phrase is the reason I brought this articles to you, because I'm so fucking pumped at the idea...
Of freeing all radicals.
Just the idea of, like, this name for a bad thing on your skin. Because I like to think that it means that, like, the bacteria on my body has formed, like, an anarchist society.
Well, like, that sounds good.
Also, I'm very taken by the idea of, like, if we rename wrinkles, like, universal basic income or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Like, there's a lot of fun stuff we can do with that.
I hate to say it, though, but I know what a free radical is from Year 12 chemistry, and that was 10 years ago.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's just a molecule that's just floating around and hasn't matched with another molecule.
Well, it has a pretty badass name.
Well, it's free and it's radical.
It can also generate free radicals, which cause the collagen in our skin to break down. What we're left with are elements of photoaging in the form of wrinkles, hyperpigmentation, and decreased skin elasticity.
Oh, jeez. If my skin becomes more elastic, does it not create wrinkles?
No, Alison, the more elastic you are, the younger you are. That's science.
I don't know enough about skin to dispute that.
Alison, if I throw you at the wall and you bounce off, you're a baby. That's how it works.
Okay, well, that means when babies are born, the doctor has to test that it's really a baby and not a 30-year-old woman masquerading as a baby. So they throw it right at the wall.
When you turn 40, I'm going to throw you at a wall and you're just going to splat into it, and that's how you'll know your time is up.
Oh, jeez.
And then
I'm not inviting you to my 40th birthday party.
Then you're no longer allowed to go outside because you don't match the L-mandated beauty standards.
Well, you're not allowed to go outside because by that point you've probably become somewhat of a boomer and you don't really want to inflict that on the world.
No, that is accurate. I will die. I fully intend to die when I turn 30 on the day.
Oh, no. I don't intend to die. I think that's a little bit too free radical of you, Chris.
Nah, fuck it, man. Let's just go fucking Logan's Run rules and just like...
My intention is to become one of those, like, hermits who lives in the desert in a caravan in, like, one of those weird arty townstead things. I'm not annoying anyone. I'm just in my weird arty townstead and I'm not bringing my problematic opinions into the world.
Okay, but if I hear you're about to leave, I've got my finger on the detonator. You just need to be aware.
Well, I'm going to get out before you can press that button.
And if you're regularly falling short of your beauty-mandated 8 hours of sleep, according to Petroni, you're even more susceptible to harmful effects.
Damn.
But
sucks to be anyone in the media or comsphere, hey.
But, Chris, I hear you saying, how can I protect myself? Thankfully, the beauty industry has heeded our call.
Thank God. The beauty industry, known for its, like, perfection and just compassion for its fellow human beings.
Yeah, that's just... When I think about the beauty industry, what I think about is, like, the betterment of the world, you know?
I think humility.
Yes.
I think compassion. I think giving. I think philanthropy. I think...
charity.
Exactly. All of these words are words that come to mind when I think the beauty industry.
The beauty industry has heeded our call with a surge of blue light protection products hitting shelves recently. Look for hydrating, antioxidant-rich formulas to defend against and minimize harm from free radicals.
That's a lot of words, a lot of buzzwords.
Again, sounds like a weapon with which to fight anarchists.
It does kind of, yeah.
Petroni recommends vitamin A as it evens the skin's natural desquamation peeling process, creating a smoother texture and reducing the appearance of pigmentation and fine lines that are caused by the blue light.
Oh my god, too many words. Desquamation.
Desquamation. I'm going to stop now because we've just said desquamation. Because also now she's telling us to put, like, light-reducing screen protectors on our phones and stuff like that, and I just can't abide by that.
And do they provide some helpful links so we can...
Oh, Alison, of course they do. They provide links to wonderful products like Triple Defense Algae Pollution Shield, Paula's Choice, for $41 Australian.
Oh, only $41 Australian. For how many millilitres?
Wait up, I have to hold the phone really close to my face. 30.
Oh, that's good bargain.
Now, if you
that's like $10 for 10 millilitres. That's $1 a millilitre.
If you think that's good bargain, how about these anti-pollution drops by Dr. Barbara Stern?
Oh, I probably need that, actually.
Now, Alison, this is such a small form factor that it doesn't list the number of millilitres on the container, but it looks like a very small eyedropper container, and it costs $219 Australian.
Ooh, so here's what I'm thinking, right? We all talk about global warming like it's this big, serious issue for some reason, just because some scientists think it's a big problem.
Fucking dorks care about it.
Like, pollution, I mean, why do we need to deal with pollution when we could just put the eye drops in and it's depolluting, you know?
The one final thing that I want to bring your attention to is for $229 you can buy the Blue Light Protection Hyaluronic Serum from Chanticleer. Just because I like the word hyaluronic, because it's very made up.
Yeah, it sounds very pseudoscience.
Yeah, so this has been my report from the beauty industry for today, and I hope we've all learnt something about how we're all getting fucking old because we use our phones too much. And whilst I do agree with that, that's because of the emotions my phone causes, not because of the light.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. It's from the sheer stress that, like, the sheer amount of stress that comes over your body when you see, like, one new email, and the one new email is from an email address of someone work adjacent.
I can
and
also,
you're like, oh, jeez.
I can also say that I think that if we use myself and our mutual friend Runa as a case study,
Sure.
I think Runa has spent more time exposed to sunlight, and I've probably spent more time exposed to screen light over the last, say, 2 years. When you and I met Runa, I don't think it's inaccurate to say that he looked
like a child.
23 years old.
Yeah, he did look 23 years old.
And
I would solidly believe he was under 25.
And now, after a couple of years of surfing, he looks like he's in his late 30s, as he should. And I still look like I'm 25. So, like, that's all I'll say about that.
A lot of people think I look younger than I am. So that's, I spend a lot of time looking at my screen. So
Well, you don't tell people, but you're actually 53.
Well, I am. In fact, I did lie to you when I said I was 53, because in fact, I'm 64 next year.
Whoa.
So, yeah, exactly.
Only 5 years to go until you get to the fun number.
I know, right?
And everyone's like, oh, it's the fun, sexy number. And it's like, no, it's actually when all your bones fall out. They don't tell you that.
Yeah, it's actually like, well, here's the thing about me being 27 years old, is that I do have, like, already somewhat amount of arthritis in my bones, which is really cool.
That's an awesome thing to have happen to you.
It's a really cool thing to exist in my life. And like, I think the biggest thing that's happened to me since I've gotten over the hedge of, like, 25 is I just feel like my body is starting to break down slowly. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I relate to that. About 6 months ago, I woke up one day and I was like, oh, I can't really turn my head more than about 30 degrees either direction. And I was like, oh, I'm sure this will be, like, better tomorrow. I must have slept on it bad. But I got to say, it's never changed back. So this is just how I am now.
It's suddenly overnight. Yeah, that's basically with my knees, It's like if I'm putting weight on my knees, they just don't bend. So that's how my knees are now. That's how I exist in the world.
And there's nothing you can do about it. It just is.
Yeah, it's just how you are.
Do you have another story for me, Alison?
Let's jump into a story from The Guardian.
Ooh, fancy.
This is some workers' rights story. But I did pick this story because the situation is just quite absurd. But it's also not a very nice thing to happen. But also it's kind of funny, if that makes sense.
I respect that.
And so this is from The Guardian. And
Yes.
it's by journalist Naman Jo, who shares a lot of great stories on Twitter.
Oh, that's nice.
And I do have to stop myself from using every single story that he shares on Twitter in this podcast, because they're all great. So follow him on Twitter if you're on Twitter.
But also don't, because then we can't break those stories to
Well,
you.
that's true. Yeah, true. Okay, so this is out of Melbourne, and it says, son sacked for being late to dinner, awarded $10,000 in unfair dismissal claim.
Okay, I'm interested.
Your interest has been piqued?
Yes.
My interest was piqued as well. So there's a subheading. It says, Fair Work Commission found no evidence the man's work at the Melbourne family business was unsatisfactory. So let's dive in. It says, our Melbourne man, who was sacked by his father from a family business because he was late to dinner, has won an unfair dismissal claim at the Fair Work Commission. Oh dear.
The problem is that next family dinner is going to be awkward as fuck.
It's going to be very awkward. The son had been working at his father's car repair shop for 2 years when the two had a heated exchange at a Sunday family dinner on 10th of March this year. After he arrived late, the man's parents became angry and there was an argument, according to the court documents first reported by The Australian. The son was told to leave and never come back either to his parents' house or to the family business. Jeez.
That seems like a mite of an overreaction. Just like a teensy-weensy...
Like, either there's more behind this that we don't know, or, like, late to dinner getting kicked out and fired from your job might be a little overreaction.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Like, there's a lot of... I feel like the list of things you can do to get kicked out of both your home and your job at the same time is fairly small. Like...
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you kill someone on the premises, you can piss in all the plants. Like, there's not...
Okay.
Like,
well, you would if you killed someone, you would be getting kicked out of basically society.
Well,
and
yeah,
sent
it's
to
because
prison.
you get a new, exciting new home.
Well, you do, exactly. An exciting new home with free meals, free cleaning service.
And our best friend, Eddie Obeid.
Well, yeah. Is he there?
Isn't he? I thought he was. Who remembers?
Maybe he is. I don't know. Who knows?
We can dream.
He could be there. Anyone could be there, really. You know. I'm going to continue reading a little bit more. On Friday, Commissioner Sarah McKinnon found that there were no evidence the son's performance at work was unsatisfactory. She found that he had been dismissed unfairly and ordered the father's business to pay him $10,115. His relationship with his parents had been under strain for approximately 1 month, but there is insufficient context before me to explain why arriving late for dinner would have been a valid reason for dismissal, she said. I mean, that's fairly true.
Yeah.
I'm not satisfied that the son's conduct in arriving late to dinner on 10th of March 2019 can fairly be characterised as work-related conduct.
Can you imagine what the point the lawyer must have tried to say I'm trying to imagine how the legalese happened here. Like,
sure.
The lawyer being like, this son's lack of arrival to this Sunday brunch demonstrated his poor work ethic, because if you can't come to a dinner, then how can you come to work every day, even if you've been coming to work every day consistently for 2 years?
I chose this story is the situation is a little bit bizarre, but also, like, I'm just surprised it hasn't come up more often, because a lot of people work in their family's business, and I'm sure a lot of them have probably been, like, asked to stop work for very dumb, unrelated to work reasons. Maybe.
Well, I think
I
that
would suspect.
if your dad fires you from your job, because he's your dad, I think instead of taking him to the Fair Work Commission, you just key his car. Like, what's he going to do back to you?
You just egg his house. But then his house might also be your house if you're living there too.
If he's like, son, I'm going to take you to the police, you're like, well, Dad, I'm going to take you to the Fair Work Commission. Game, set, match, motherfucker.
I'm going to dob on you, Dad. Yeah, exactly.
We've got mutually assured destruction. Then you key his car again in front of him because he can't do anything. At that point, you've got him.
Well, you've won. You've won the law there.
You have lost your job, though. That is a problem.
Well, yeah.
You're not getting that back.
In this case, basically the reason he was given a payout, right, was because obviously it meant that he wasn't getting paid income. And it did say that he probably should have applied for another job earlier, and so they didn't give him the full amount of money that he lost. I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
But then it also...
I mean, he had a very serious trial to attend to.
Yeah, exactly. He had to, like, bring his dad to trial. This does sound something like you would see on maybe, like, Judge Judy.
Yeah, that was my pull too, was Judge Judy.
That's some Judge Judy level content, and I do enjoy a little spot of Judge Judy.
If we ever make a spin-off podcast, I would like it to be Judge Judy adjacent. Like, I want
Judge
it to be
Judy
that kind
related.
of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And whether or not it's a Judge Judy recap podcast or it's We Are Judge Judy, both are good ideas.
Well, you can come to us with your legal cases, if you have any legal cases, and two people with no legal training or experience will discuss your case.
Don't go to legal advice. Don't go to Judge Judy. Don't go to Judge...
exactly. We will solve the mystery.
Don't go to Judge John Hodgman, a podcast that does this same thing that I'm proposing already that exists with a much more famous man.
Don't go to Legal Eagle on YouTube. You know, there's plenty of people out there, but we will be doing it better because we will have no training or experience.
Yeah.
So we will just be bullshitting.
And much like this podcast is a rip-off of My Brother and Me, I'm totally comfortable ripping off another podcast to create a spin-off.
To create a worse version.
Yeah, exactly.
So no one's going to realise that. See, that's the thing with creating a worse version that's not popular, is that then people don't know that you've copied, and then you're free. You're out of the...
Exactly. You get it. This is why we're friends.
If your version becomes popular, then you have to deal with, like, oh, geez, well, maybe I did copy you, but...
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want to go there.
I read a fun interview with an electronic musician named Burial, or not named Burial, but he goes by Burial, and he was talking about how he uses like lots of like samples in his music, like too many samples. And people were like, oh my God, how much does it cost you to, like, get these samples cleared? And he was like, oh no, we just don't, because it's not successful enough for the people to give a shit.
Well, that's true. It's a very valid
He's
point.
like, we're not making fucking Katy Perry here. Like, it's not that kind of situation.
No, we're just producing... Well, as soon as it does become popular, though, then you've got to deal with that. But if you keep making it a little bit crap, then it won't become popular. Then you won't have to deal with that. And that's the trade-off there.
Can I bring you a story?
Absolutely.
From my favourite magazine, Cottage Life?
Oh, cottage life. Now, is this about cottage cheese or about living in cottages?
It's about living in cottages. It's an extremely niche publication.
Yeah, but I feel like if it was about cottage cheese specifically...
The headline is, here's the deal with nudity at the cottage. Question. My neighbour at the lake is always naked. I mean, outside, during the day, not just to go skinny dipping. I know this because I can see his whole property from the dock. Am I the only one who is uncomfortable with this level of nakedness at the cottage?
Well... This is hashtag cottage problems.
Yes. So this is a publication exclusively for people who own, like, lakeside cottages.
In which region? Just anywhere in the world, lakeside cottages?
Yeah,
or?
it's just like general cottage content, you know?
Okay, well, sure. Because cottage owners can relate to this, seeing other cottage owners naked by the wharf, you know.
So this is answered by David Zwimmer, who I'm going to assume is a pseudonym for David Schwimmer from Friends.
Well, I'm assuming David Schwimmer is, in fact, the editor-in-chief and the writer and editor and photographer and everything for Cottage Life. That's what he's up to these days. That's why you haven't seen him in much.
As a tweenager, right off the bat, Bab, as a tweenager, I was fortunate to spend all summer at the family cottage. I had my own boat, but I couldn't roam as far afield as my older brothers, who once came back from a fishing venture far up the Georgian Bay coast, where they had seen, pause for effect, a young woman sunbathing nude on the deck of a boat as it slowly cruised around the shoals.
You know what? They did not see that. The brother was not there at that time. The brothers came back and they're like, oh, hey, Davey, guess what we saw?
We saw a naked lady.
Yo, she was so hot, and she was just like, her boobs were out, and like we saw them, and like she made eye contact with us, and then like
there were like
whoa.
two sexy bags of sand just hanging off of her.
And it was like, Davey, you should have been there, Davey. And Davey has believed that his whole life.
Oh yeah. David
and he's been intensely jealous, and that's why he's really sad that he can't roam far afield, because he's never been able to see the naked lady.
This is why Ross from Friends was always so insecure. It's just because he was never able to see the naked lady.
Anyway, continue.
This news made my mind reel, as if someone had told... As if someone had told me Godzilla was tear-assing around Mantelin Island, or Led Zeppelin was playing a free concert at the French River Trading Post.
Oh, jeez!
I love these fucking pulls. Simply not possible. Word on the street said our sun goddess must be European, or possibly an American from California. Because who else would sunbathe on a boat, buck naked, for all the world to see?
See, he's really hung up on this story.
Yeah, this has haunted him.
He's really hung up on this because, like, part of him is skeptical about the fact that his brothers saw this naked lady. Part of him, like, believes it may be bullshit because it did sound a lot like bullshit, but he really wants to believe it's true. So he's made all of these little, like, leaps of logic in his head, like, well, you know, none of the ladies from here would sunbathe naked, so maybe she's from New York.
Maybe she's from Los Angeles.
Maybe she's from Europe. They did say she was, like, really liberated.
I like this idea of all of Europe being just this pan-liberated, like, everyone's naked all the time place.
Yeah, well, that's what it is it not?
If you've ever been to fucking England, I've got to tell you...
Well, that's why Brexit's happening. They're not so cool with nudity there.
Prepare to be let down.
And you know, are you saying that you wouldn't want to see Boris Johnson roaming around in his birthday suit?
I have a very exciting Boris Johnson story for next week. This one only slightly topped it, but next week I've got some exciting Boris Johnson content.
Some Bojo content.
Some Bojo content. I use this anecdote to illustrate that when I was growing up, public nudity was just not done. A philosopher.
He uses this anecdote to illustrate the fact that he's still really hung up on this story his brothers told him about the naked lady that he never saw.
Gone to sleep thinking about it, masturbating every night since then.
He sounds like he's in his 50s now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Ross from Friends must be like 50, 60 by this point. So, like...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it tracks. A philosophy shared by friends, family, neighbours, and everyone I had ever met. Liberal thinkers might point out that our minds had been corrupted by conservative societal norms, making us stuffy and repressed and ashamed of our own bodies, which is probably true. Guilty as charged. So, as a short answer to your question, there is a very high likelihood that many people share your discomfort over nakedness at the cottage. And by
nakedness at the cottage.
And by nakedness, I mean full-bore nudity.
Oh, jeez.
As in swanning around the joint all day without a stitch of clothing except for a baseball cap, which seems to be the one raiment that nudies find acceptable.
What the fuck is this?
This exists. I'm not going to read all of it.
Is this what cottage people read? Is this what they're into?
Apparently.
Well...
That said...
I've learned something today about cottage culture.
Oh, there's more. That said, I think it is very true that most cottagers, myself included, enjoy small intervals of controlled nudity at the lake, as evidenced by the enduring popularity of the good old skinny dip. Au natural is a good way to be when you're taking a dip in the sauna or the hot tub. And who could argue with the pleasant effects of being able to naturally air dry after a swim? I would even go so far as to say that a bit of naked sunbathing is acceptable to many. Lethal skin damage aside.
Well, that's true. That's a very true thing that he just said.
Those are some parts you do not want to get sunburnt.
The whole time, like, I've known that skinny dipping is a thing that's existed. I've never been tempted to do it because I just know that sunburn in any of those areas would be catastrophic for life.
Yeah, like, it's really uncomfortable when you get, like, the tops of your feet sunburnt because you have to put socks on. You have to put underwear on the top of that place, and that's every time you move any part of you at all. That moves a little bit. So, like...
And then if you're still kind of living in the emo era, you're still wearing skinny jeans, and then the skinny jeans are, like, rubbing on your underwear, which are rubbing on your area, and it's like... It's a whole experience. Also,
from a dude perspective, if something happens that's, let's say, exciting... and you get an involuntary response from that zone.
That wouldn't be ideal.
It would hurt so very, very much because it would be a real stretching of that skin in a very unpleasant way.
Not ideal.
Akin to torture.
Yeah. Not great. Not great stuff.
Anyway, provided this personal broiling is practiced out of plain sight, discreetly shielded from the direct observation of every neighbour and passerby...
Unless you're the sexy naked European lady that my brothers saw, because I really kind of want to see that.
Because I need to see that. I've never been able to have sex in my life because I haven't seen the naked European lady. I can't.
And his brothers are reading this article now, and they're like, has this gone too far? Have we,
we've broken him.
Should we tell him?
David is so scarred. David's had therapy about this naked European lady.
Not the fact that he saw it, but that he didn't see it. And he wants to see it.
I feel like I have this dream now, which is that I am someone's naked European lady, because I live on a roadside apartment and I have big windows that I'm often too lazy to close the blinds of, and when I get out of the shower, I just go and get changed. I swan around, ain't nobody. I figure it's darker inside than it is outside, so they probably can't see very much. But there's about a 100% chance that people have seen my dick and butt.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like that's the nature of living in an apartment, is there's absolutely a 100% chance that somebody somewhere has seen you nude.
So, but instead of being like, I saw her sunbathing, her sultry olive flesh, it'll be like, I saw him dripping wet, his pudgy, pale...
His pasty white body.
His pasty, decrepit form.
And they're always thinking about it, though.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know, have you watched much of Friends?
More than I'd like to have.
Do you know there's the kind of recurring plot about the naked guy who lives in the apartment across the way?
Yes.
That's where David got that idea from.
Fuck, Alison. Holy shit. We've broken this whole thing wide
We have.
open.
David has always had it in his mind about accidentally spotting a naked person in their natural habitat.
I'm now taken by this idea that all of Friends is drawn from David Schwimmer's cottage side adventures as a youth.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the lies his brothers made up about the things that they did when they went on the boat. And we all know that when they went on the boat, they actually just went around the corner a little bit and smoked some weed.
But they didn't actually have weed. It was just grass that they'd rolled up into.
It's probably oregano or something, because some other kid at school sold the older brothers some oregano, and then they were like, "Oh, we gotta pretend that we weren't smoking weed." And then the brothers David comes by and he's like, "Why do you boys look so satisfied?" said David, and then they told the naked lady story. And it's ruined his life.
Yeah, David's never been the same.
It's really sad. It's really sad that this has happened to him.
That's why he can't act. I'm going to wrap that up there because...
Oh, boy.
Yeah, because there's not much more to that story that we haven't already covered. And also we're sort of at time.
I think we're kind of at time, yeah.
So shall we wrap up?
Yeah, let's wrap up.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. You can find us on Twitter or Instagram at Red Menacecast, or on Facebook at The Red Menace Podcast. You can find our cool, extremely fashionable merch, L-approved merch at tpublic.com. Remembered it?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be in the next L list about things that will protect you from 4G radiation. So
yeah, absolutely.
Got to get in there quickly before L gets on it and makes the price more expensive. Supply and demand,
And then I hear you saying, what product do we make that prevents you from radiation? We actually have these mugs, and if you drink our Red Menace branded tea out of them every single day, that will build up your natural...
oh, yeah, absolutely.
Your natural pusillanimcle immunity to 4G radiation, and that is the scientific term.
Sure. Don't Google it.
Don't Google it.
Because you don't know how to spell it, so you won't find it.
But it's definitely real, I promise.
Yeah. Absolutely.
On that delightful pyramid scheme of a note, thank you for listening. Good luck and good night.